time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
My friends, move the pumpkins off the back porch. That's the name of the book, written by Reverend Gloria Alexander. This book, folks, is amazing. Yes, move the pumpkins off the back porch. You're going to find yourself, become real in relationships, triumph over fear, improve your marriage from this book. Folks, it's an interesting book. When I got it, I read it, and I said, you know, this is interesting. We have to have this girl on our show. And she's joined by her husband. Both are reverends. Welcome, Gloria, and welcome, Harold, for being on the Sam Lesante Show.
Thank you.
You've been reverends for how many years? 30-some years, you said?
Yes. Over 35 years.
Over 35. How long have you been married?
39 years.
Yes,
this
okay.
past
Now,
August.
This book is interesting, okay? Now, the book is called Move the Pumpkins Off the Back Porch, which the title itself is amazing. But you tell the story of what happened here and the reason how this book evolved.
It, as I've said, this time of year, as we go past houses and you see them decorated with pumpkins, I would buy pumpkins and decorate the house with them. But then after the season is over, my husband would cook the pumpkins and by the way, he could make a mean pumpkin bread. And so this particular year, we were real busy, and I came home one day, and I washed the pumpkins, cut them up, put them in the pot. But I didn't peel them. He came downstairs from his home office, and he asked me the question, why didn't you peel the pumpkins? And I'm saying, well, once they cook a little bit and get a little tender, then I'll peel them. He proceeded, and when I went back to my office, he proceeded in peeling the pumpkins. I come back in the kitchen, and he looks at me, and he said, okay, now you can proceed. Well, I am angry, because it's like, is it a rule? You know, is the cooking patrol going to come and get me and say, you did not peel them pumpkins? And he looked at me with superior attitude and walked upstairs, now you can finish. And so I got an instant attitude, and I proceeded to say to myself, he could finish it. And, you know, keep in mind, we both are pastors, you know. We have done marriage fellowships and marriage counseling and relationship counseling and, you know, and my attitude, you know, and I think we were married about 35 years at least then. But my attitude was, he took it himself, you know. And I mean, I really had an attitude. I walked back to my office with, he'll do it himself. And so he didn't. I came back to cook dinner, and the pumpkins are still there, so I wound up putting them, in the wintertime, our back porch is like a refrigerator, a walk-in refrigerator. So I put the pumpkins on the back porch, and that's why the title of the book, Move the Pumpkins, because they stayed there for about a week. And with both of us, with attitudes being cordial to one another, you know, we're good church people. And so you don't go around being straight out angry and mad with one another, you know. And but my attitude is what shocked me, because of the fact that I didn't care if those pumpkins rotted on that back porch. I did not care, you know, after putting all that money into buying the pumpkins. And that is what was scary. Now, in our relationship through the years, I like to think I'm the one that would sit down and talk if we got to a standstill in something. But actually this time, he was the one. We were on our way out of town, and he pulled into a parking lot, and he said, okay, come on, we're going to have to talk, you know, because them pumpkins are still on the back porch. And I still had this little attitude, but he actually went past that to make me talk. And I expressed the fact that I felt like he always was feeling like he got to straighten out things for me. He's always right. He always know. And we are now in this power play. And he was able to really listen to me. But, and so we worked it out, went home, and I don't know who finally just cooked them and moved the pumpkins off the back porch. But I was so shocked at my pettiness that I really had to pray about that. I really went before God and I prayed that, where's this coming from? I mean, you know, we can laugh about it, and we have laughed about it. I've laughed about it with other people. But sometimes in relationships, whether you're married, whether you work with somebody, you can wind up being so petty over something so petty and small. And it brought back up memories of when I was a child. And it brought back up memories of that if I didn't do something to complete with my mother, I was made and ostracized. And that's what I had to deal with. And that's why I wrote the book.
So I was going to say, there had to be a buildup of something, okay, and that little thing just ticked it off, okay, and so for 1 week, you know, you were cordial, but yet, now things also start popping up. For example, you have in here toilet paper issues, okay? What were those issues?
Toilet paper issues are coined, and we have a minister in our church that say, you've got to write a book about toilet paper. When we would do marriage fellowships, you have in every relationship, in the job, you have preferences, but it's not the gospel. You know, murdering somebody is wrong. Stealing from somebody is wrong. But which way you turn the toilet paper is your preference, whether it's from your culture or whatever. And those particular things, it wind up just being a power play because it's nobody which way. And you know, when we would do marriage fellowships, we stopped even telling the couples which way one like it turned one way and one like it turned the other, because then it wound up just being yes, you know, and everybody would take sides. And so toilet paper issues are things you deal with in marriage, in relationship, where it's no right or wrong. It is no law of the land. It is no law of the Bible, you know. And how many marriages, relationships, how many people have quit jobs over, I call it toilet paper issues. It's just little petty things that you prefer, or your family, his family, turned to toilet paper one way, you know. I come from a family that turned it another way. And when we first got married, I put the toilet paper on the roll. He would come in and change it. And we would be so angry with one another that, you know, he would sleep out on the couch, you know.
Just because the toilet paper was put on wrong. Folks, I'm talking to Reverend Gloria Alexander. The book is amazing. It's called Move the Pumpkins Off the Back Porch. And you can get this book. Go to movethepumpkins.org. Get the book. We come back. We'll talk to Harold. And why does he keep on changing those toilet papers around? Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante. Thank you so much, folks, for making the Sam Lesante Show your #1 talk show in Northeastern Pennsylvania. I really appreciate it. And my email is sam@ssptv.com, 24/7, ssptv.com. You can watch any one of our shows, the 21 shows we produce anywhere in the world. Today, my guests are Reverends Gloria and Harold Alexander. The book is called Move the Pumpkins Off the Back Porch. We're talking here about how this particular incident with the pumpkins started developing into other things, okay, the preferences, etc. In your summary of the book, it says, examine yourself. What do you have to change about yourself in order to start moving the pumpkins off the back porch in your life? Are you playing the name it and blame it game? Blaming others for your past failures, allowing the past to spill into your present. I'm going to get to you with Harold in a second, but right now, before we get into any fights, she's the boss right now. So explain that, because I think this is always a concern. You know, people get married, and listen, in our lives, we're all sinners. We've done things in our lives that we're ashamed of, okay? There's no question about it. And, you know, but how do we go back and erase that? You know, we have to move forward. I think sometimes people who are married or couples or whomever is together sometimes, and they get upset. Well, do you remember 5 years ago? When,
Right.
and how about when we were dating and
Yes,
you did it?
yes.
And so tell me about how devastating that could be.
Well, you think you have forgiven, and maybe you did, but you didn't forget. And you just wind up suppressing it. And what I have found through the years, it's going to come out some type of way. And what happens is something so petty and so small, but it brings up what I dealt with and what I talked about in the book, resentment. And resentment from the original word is resent, resentment. And so the memory is resent to you of what they did wrong or what happened in your past. And now you play it out in your future. You bring all that baggage, and it's just a memory that you cannot go back and change. So you must forgive, and you got to release it. And of course, from the biblical point of view, in the Bible it says, cast down your imagination. That's a daily exercise because our imaginations can run away with us. The way we think a person is, in our minds, that's how it is. They could be innocent. They don't even have to have thought of it in that particular way. When this incident happened with the pumpkins, it was in my mind, oh, there he go again. It is, he always think he's right. That's what was playing in my mind.
Reverend Harold, what happened that day that you came in and said, how come the pumpkins are not peeled, and then you peeled? What happened?
Well, when I saw her that she had prepared the pumpkins and she didn't take the skin off, before coming into full-time ministry, I used to work in a restaurant. Okay, I worked there for about 15-some years or whatever, so I know, right, that if you want the pumpkins to be infused with all the spices and things of that nature, you got to remove the skin so that it can kind of flow in there or whatever before you finally process it. So I kind of said, well, look, because of my experience, whatever, hey, listen, you need to kind of take the skin off first, And she said, yes. And she said, no,
Now we're trying to make some sense out of this.
There you go. It's like, so I said, well, I kind of got resentful because she knew, we have been through many years or whatever. She knows how many years I worked in a restaurant. She knew where I worked and things of that nature. She knew what kind of type of chef I was, And so, like, I was figuring, like, wow, how in the world she's not going to be this blatantly, standing there. It's like, why would she even do that?
When she came back and explained to you what was and you just peeled them automatically, and then she got upset about it.
Because everybody knows you peel to take the skin off before you put.
Okay, but why? So what happened then that she came in and she was upset about that?
Well, that's because when she said that she started it anyway, and I did not start it, and so therefore, since she started it and initiated it, that I need to keep my hands out of it. Okay, and that was basically what she said.
Now, from that, okay, these little things start popping up, and this is what happened. So so you sense that there was a little coolness going on.
Sure.
Correct? All right. So how did you approach that? Because this happens in married lives and couples'
Yes.
lives every day.
Well, at first I just said, okay, she's a little upset or whatever, but she didn't want to do it. So maybe she didn't want to burn her fingers, whatever. Okay, I'll do it, and that's what happened.
Were you a control freak here, saying, "Hey, it's my way or no way"?
No, not really. It wasn't like that per se, but so I said, okay, well, since I'm the husband and I'll take the load, I'll help her out. And so I said, okay, I jumped in the pot, took the skins off or whatever, and went on that way.
So from that time, you and Gloria are able to now discuss some things, and you start praying over it and finding out why.
Sure.
And this happens, communication, I think, is so very important in any couple's lives.
Yes.
To communicate, okay? Sometimes you don't like to hear what you have to say, but don't get angry about it, okay? Yes. Am I correct? Now, yes. in your experiences, Reverend, okay, how do you view this whole thing for people who are reading, will hopefully read the book?
Yes.
But what is it? Because there's so many messages in here that Gloria, you present. Mm-hmm. What did you get from this book?
Well, basically, and this in relationships or work relationships or whatever, right? So many things are held up like they're out back on the back porch, you know. Jobs are not being done, jobs that are being sabotaged from the inside, you know, because you have certain mixed feelings of people saying things about you and things of that nature, whatever, and it's stuck on the back porch. It's not until one or somebody, you know, finally says, okay, look, you know, we need to kind of stop this. We need to kind of clear the air, whatever, come past this particular issue, because we're sabotaging our own jobs. We sabotage our relationships, you know, our marriages, our constant battling, fighting, you know, in our jobs and things of that nature, work's not being done. So what the Lord finally had me to do was that we were coming back, and we were actually pulled into a parking lot, but it happened to be in the park. And so we were able to walk, you know, for a moment, clear the air, and really kind of come down to the fact, okay, listen, this is not important like that.
Did this sort of like bring you a little bit closer together from having this exchange?
Sure.
Okay. Now let me ask you this: how many years have you been married?
39.
Okay. And that's how many years I've been married.
Yeah,
and we'll be going on 40, okay? And people sometimes will ask me, you know, what's the success of being married, okay? What do you think the key, because I'm going to write a book too, and I'm going to tell you the name of my book. And I've already patented it, so they're not going to steal this title from me. Okay. But what do you think the key things are of keeping a marriage alive for so many years?
Well, one of it, I mean, you have to kind of look at marriage as a really great thing or whatever, but it's work like anything else, okay? It's a labor of love, you know, but it's work. You know, as she was talking about casting out your imagination, that's something that you do every day, you know, not bringing old issues back up, you know, because we'll do that in a minute. We kind of we try not to go to sleep on our anger and things of that nature, because that will definitely, you know, cause explosions. We don't talk about toilet paper issues anymore, you know, whether it's up or down, is the toilet paper is there, the toilet paper serves its purpose.
If a person is having severe problems in their marriage from the past, okay, yes, and they just can't get rid of, you know, the hurt that may have been done to either, okay, and then, you know, they're doing fine and something happens, and then that spouse or the partner brings it up again. Yes. What do you say to people like that?
Well, what we use was, and our central thing is that we still have somebody that's in the middle with us. We have there's a judge, okay? We believe that when you get married, right, there's more than one person in a relationship. There's the husband, there's the wife, and then there's God. And so what we started to be able to do was, you know, certain issues we could not resolve, we would pray and say, okay, look, we have to leave it with him. He's going to solve it, and whatever way he comes out.
And did he solve it?
Yes, he did.
And see, now people who listen to this, sometimes if you're not religious and you don't go to practice in whatever church, they feel, that's nonsense, but it's so factual. Folks, I'm writing a book and about marriage, and I'm always asked, you know, as well as they're asked, how, you know, what's the success of marriage? The name of the book is called Psst. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's called Psst. P-S-S-S-T. We come back, I'll tell you what that means. Stay with us. Folks, the name of the book that I'm talking about today is called Move the Pumpkins Off the Back Porch. You can go to movethepumpkins.org and you got to get this book or go to Amazon. My guests today are Reverends Gloria and Harold Alexander. And we're talking about how this book could find yourself, become real in relationships, triumph over fear, and improve your marriage. My book that I'm going to write is called Psst. It's P-S-S-S-T, right? Patience, sacrifice, solitude, silence, and tolerance. And I think, and really, if you look at those individually, you'll begin to see some of the things, okay, that we deal with, okay? Don't be too fast to snap back. Think a little bit, silence, okay? Be tolerant of what your spouse has to say, because you don't know what she went through for the full day or what you went through for the full day, okay? Now, I've said this before. We're not saints by no means, and I'm not lecturing to anybody. I've made many mistakes in my life, and sometimes I say I'm out of my mind for doing them. But however, I have to continue on. That's right. This is the point I want to get at, Gloria, is how do couples or how do people, okay, even if they're not married, how do they get along with the fact that they said, oh, I did this one, and I should have never did this, and my brother was this to me, and my sister was that, and my father did this to me when my mother did this to me. You could drive yourself crazy.
Yeah,
okay,
you do.
What do you say?
Well, as you said, and you said before, you know, we have, and as my husband said, we have God to be able to go to. But you said that some people might not, you know, believe in God.
You're even afraid to talk about God today. You see, it's funny, you could sit in a plane and read, you could sit in a plane and read a Playboy magazine.
That's right.
But if you had a Bible on, they look at you and say, well, is this guy reading the Bible?
Right.
That's how crazy this world is today,
Yes.
okay? I mean, so getting what we're saying is that how you got to snap out of it.
Well, you know, that's easier said than done, because if you do have reoccurring bad thoughts coming back and that victim mentality coming back, as I said, I have to say, we have to say, it was God. When we accepted the Lord Jesus Christ in our lives to give us the strength and the courage, forgiveness, you know, because it get to a point where, and I talk about that with resentment, you just don't want to forgive anymore.
That's right. That's exactly
The
right.
only thing you want to do is you go your way and I go mine.
Moving forward, okay, you put here, he says, what causes a person to be his own worst enemy? And I love this. I believe the number one answer is fear, and you break it down. False evidence appearing real,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
And this is so true. The family today, okay, the family, how important today is the family, Reverend Alexander?
Yes, I mean, the family is the most integral unit. That's the starting point. Where the family starts falling down, then our society kind of falls down, you know? So.
And so my question to you is this, and people know me, they know I'm very pro-life, and I give everybody an opportunity to come on and do that stuff, okay? And I'm not going to get, you know, editorialized, but the point is, why is it that the major medias today try to destroy the marriage, the family as a whole?
Yeah, I don't, for some reason or another, you know, I guess maybe because of certain pain and heartache from other folks, it's hard to believe that anybody can live monogamously with an individual for a lifetime, you know, literally. I mean, that was the premise that God set up.
That's not hip today. You see, I hear that.
know.
You know, you got to get with it, Sam.
That's right.
Well, get with, I mean, other words, like Bishop Timlin said, sin is sin. You don't
right.
change it, okay?
That's right.
That's what it is,
Exactly.
okay? But they try to camouflage it. They don't go to church. They don't
Yes.
practice their religion.
Yes.
And they try to live the soccer, you know, life and the baseball and the football, and nothing wrong with that, because my daughter's involved with it very heavily, and my grandchildren, okay, and I love them. But I mean, they practice their faith.
Right.
It's so important to practice your faith because it means so much.
Exactly.
I'm not just saying it because you see it every day.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to practice it, you know?
And you know, I've prayed with a couple of reporters and different people. They are human beings. And a lot of them come from broken families and they have unforgiveness. So to them, the family is not important. You know, it just, and, but to help somebody journaling, I talk about that in there.
Yes.
When they are really ready to move on with their lives and stop putting the power, giving your power over to somebody else. You are responsible. You are responsible for your life. And I just talk about a few things, and it's like you got to make up your mind one day. The light bulb got to come on one day. Yeah. I'm ready to move on, and I want to move some important major projects off the back porch of my life.
That's right. That's for sure. And as long as you're still wrestling, you can't move those pumpkins, you know?
You see, it's so great to have an open relationship as to communicate back and forth. And I think, as I said, with my book that I'm going to write, and folks, I've patented this, so don't think you're going to steal it. My book, okay, yes. Patience, solitude, that's silence, right. And sacrifice, and tolerance, okay? Right. You need that, you know. The book, I'm telling you, I could go on for another hour discussing this because it's very interesting. And I don't know, we don't have the right way. I mean, but we don't have, I think we have the right way in saying that, you know, whoever you are, have God in your life somewhere. It's important, okay? And I feel so sorry for people who do not have that in their life. They're living the life of Riley now, as they say many years ago. But the pain they're going to suffer as they get older, as we all know, it's just like, it's amazing. Gloria, you're a beautiful person.
Thank you.
And Harold, let her leave the pumpkins on. Why did you put the pumpkins on the back porch? Move those pumpkins off the back porch.
That's
Folks,
right.
the book
That's
is called, it's a fabulous book, I'm telling you. Move the pumpkins off the back porch. It's .org. Move the pumpkins off the back porch.org, and you'll really enjoy this. Thanks for staying with us. Remember, ssptv.com. You can watch this show anywhere in the world. We'll see you next time.